This experiment will work one way or the other. Now, what was the line? What was the line from the first movie? Right, he breaks into the starship, or the spaceship, and he's like, "You're a member of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away."
You got that inflection just right.
Between episodes in our AI Thought Leader series, we decided to breathe. Scotch, stories, sci-fi. This is Helical Brew Intermission.
All right, Helical Brew Hot 10 co-host edition science swagger story. Mike Ouren, if your science origin story was a comic book, what would the title of issue number 1 be?
Oh my. Oh my, and issue 1 has to be epic. It has to be.
It's your origin story, right?
It's the origin story. Oh.
Although good comic books don't bring the origin story in until 50 comics deep usually.
Isn't that funny? And I'm only buying time to think about that more. But, isn't it funny how like the last edition of things ends up being the origin story? It's like, oh yeah, we forgot about that. I mean, that happened in the Wolverine movies, right? You've got all this, what is it? X-Men 1, 2, 3, then the next series of X-Men, all with Hugh Jackman in it and Wolverine. And then all of a sudden, ta-da, we're gonna do a Wolverine origin story somewhere back in there with actors that you don't, some of which never played the part of the other characters in the other movies, but that's it, right?
It makes sense though, because I think like they need time to figure out what the person is gonna be, right? Like, who's this person? What is he like doing? And then once they figure that out, then they're like, okay, now we can kind of backtrack and think of his origin because now we've got this like experience for him, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Otherwise, the origin story is just not going to have a lot of context. You're like, so what? So what? Now you know why the character did all these things, I guess.
But you're also tied in if you do the origin story first. Like, oh, well, this was his origin. We can't really take him down this path or, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Gosh, what was issue number 1? I'm trying to think of.
Science origin story was a comic book. What would the title of issue number 1 be? It's just a title. Just a title. You don't gotta commit too hard.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. From brews to bots, maybe. Cheers and happy Friday, everyone. From our own very Reno, Nevada.
Wait, is that your answer? That's your science orange? That's your comic book title? Brews to bots?
Brews to bots.
And what are the brews?
Brew, yeah, I don't know. The brewing ideas, brewing new things, brewing automation.
Okay. All right. So you get to build the ultimate lab team. Dead or alive, fictional or real, who's on your crew?
Dead or alive, fictional or real? Oh my gosh. Who's on your crew? Actually, shout out to the crew that I worked with originally, in automation, as far as a vendor, right? I was on the vendor side, but we worked together to figure out, a lot of solving problems, programming, all that stuff. But I mean, one of my favorite experiences was with the GNF crew in San Diego. Yeah. So that would have been.
You want to take the whole team? You don't want to
I take the whole team.
I would put like Spock with like Einstein and, maybe a little of like.
These are folks that I cannot qualify the character. If I have not, I cannot. I had never
the whole
met
GNF
Spock.
team. Got it.
But if I were to take Spock, Spock would be pretty epic. But I feel like Spock
maybe
could
Darth
also.
Vader. Your enforcer could be Darth Vader. I don't know.
This experiment will work one way or the other. You are. Now, what was the line? What was the line from the first movie? Right, he walks into he breaks into the starship, or the spaceship, and he's like, "You're a member of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away."
You got that inflection just right. Okay, you get one piece of gear to bring on a desert island. What are you taking and why?
A water bottle. A PlayStation 5 with Call of Duty on it.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I know. It's just like, you knew the water bottle was BS. It wasn't going to happen. Well, what would you take?
It's hard
A
because
desert island, that's a rough go. Like, I mean, that's
Mhm.
the water bottle could make things could extend time a bit, or you could just have a short duration of, you know.
Maybe the life straw. I take that.
There we go. Perpetual water bottle, at least until it clogs up and it's game over.
Hopefully I'll be rescued by then.
If it's anything like Tom Hanks' story and that movie about we're getting stuck on a deserted island, right?
Okay.
Wilson, Wilson.
What song do you hear in your head when you're, it says, I mean, I put experiment for the lab scientist, but I guess for us, like, design finally works after 3 weeks of chaos.
Gosh, the opening of Xanadu by Rush.
And can you make this a playlist?
Make a playlist of Xanadu.
hmm
I can hum it.
But I mean, like, if you want that to be the song, can we make it a playlist? Like, can you add other songs? Like, say you're just
Sure,
listening to a playlist.
sure. It's probably going to be 90% Rush songs, but you know, shocking, shocking. Okay,
Shocking.
okay. If you were to do a playlist, though, would it be biased towards a group of artists? Let's say a handful, five or less artists. Let's say if you made a playlist that was 20
It's
songs.
hard because I've got an eclectic like taste, right? I'd probably have the Beatles. I'd probably have some, really like hardcore metal. I'd probably have some like, Chinese singers. I'm just kind of all over the place. It depends. I'd have to have different playlists for different moods, I think.
Yeah, yeah. You're even. I thought I had a pretty broad range, but you've got it's even broader. I
Yeah.
remember mentioning to you that I do like the sound of a lot of music and that's the lyrics are in Arabic. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
because I think the language has a very unique connection to the sounds behind it. I mean, it's true with a lot of languages, even German, the German language. Like if you get like
Yeah,
in
my
the
daughter loves German music.
yeah,
Doesn't understand it, like goes and tries to figure out what it means later, but she loves it. That and
I
Russian.
right both well Russian especially. I mean, it's a pretty heavy language, and then you start getting into the deeper tracks and works well. Same with Dutch. Actually, the Dutch language on top of music sounds very cool.
I haven't heard Dutch on top of music. I'll have to check that out. Which sci-fi movie, in your opinion, got it the most right? And which one made you yell at the screen?
Gosh,
That's a
which
hard one because I've watched so many.
sci-fi movie that made you yell at the screen? Gosh, I mean, these are movies that I just generally tend to avoid just based on the trailer, and I kind of
Sometimes you
blow
get
it off.
sucked in, you think it's like good, and then you're just like, what the hell was Green Lantern doing? This is a movie.
God, Green Lantern. Well, that's one that, like, yeah,
I was
that
like,
one,
really?
that
This
one
is no.
famously disappointed fans. Yeah, year after year to the point where it just kept coming back and back, and
They kept trying. Yeah.
even in the last like the cutscenes on the end of Deadpool, right? What did he do? Like, he's like looking at the script. Oh, you've made it. You've made it. And then and then his brains get blown out all over the page. It's like, don't do it. No, don't do
But
it.
even like Ryan Reynolds in interviews talks about how like bad he thought that movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's that's true. I think that you know what? Okay, I'll go there. I'll go there because it's George Clooney's Batman and horrible. And actually, he's like Ryan Reynolds when you see him on interviews and somebody refers to the Batman film, which is very rare because nobody even wants to think about it. They're terrible. Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Freeze. I was,
That was, yeah.
yeah, you're frozen now. Come on, look, I am freeze. I will dominate the freezing. You will not move. It's horrible, horribly done. That so yeah, that would be a good one. It was I would say worse than Green Lantern because it not only messed up the Green Lantern character,
Messed up the friend.
it
Yeah.
messed up everything. I mean,
The universe.
didn't that have who played the Riddler? Wasn't that Jim Carrey? I think now he did play a pretty funny Riddler.
Thing though with Jim Carrey, like when he commits, but then it's like everyone around him, I feel like, has to be on point, and it's just not the case usually.
Yeah, I think you're right. He he tends to get cast into roles that he can be the center of attention. So in a role like that, you're kind of fighting for attention on the screen, really, between Jim Carrey and then he's not the lead character. It's Batman, right? But Batman sucks. So what do you do?
But that's the thing, I think, with these Batman movies is they tend to do that, right? They lump a bunch of actors together that, are all kind of big names in themselves, but only a few. That series of the Dark Knight, I felt like that got it right because those guys were all famous on their own, but the interplay was such that no one outshined the other. It just really like worked well as a collaboration.
Well, I think that's the difference between Christopher Nolan directing and some of these other folks because that guy is really good.
That guy's really good. Yeah.
I can't think of a Christopher Nolan movie where I've walked away going, it just didn't make the cut. I mean, it's yeah, and I like it. He's kind of like the person like the leader. You hear CEOs right wearing the same thing to work every day, right? So they don't have to think about it. He kind of does that with his actors. He's like, no, I don't recast actors. I use the same actors every time, and just put them in different roles and say, well, here you go. I think that's brilliant.
But he
He's
like
got
finds
consistency.
talents and he almost grooms it to his style and then he keeps it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. That was the the Dark Knight
Here's a
Rises.
fun one. If lab automation had a fragrance, what would it smell like?
Obsession. It wouldn't be something sporty
Fragrance.
like an Adidas, aftershave or something like that.
I feel like with all the crawling around and trying to like program and build stuff, it would smell musky.
Somebody clean out this incubator last time. How long has this been in here? There's
The
we.
science movie that I think got it the most right was Soylent Green, I thought. I could totally see humanity devolving to that point.
Well, I didn't see that one.
The one where he's like, Soylent Green is people. You never saw that one? It's
No,
old. It's an old movie.
that's Soylent Green. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, it's very old. 1973. Charlton Heston. Oh, great
Yes.
actor. Great
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah, but it's weird not seeing him like in a cowboy hat for sure.
Yeah, that's true. He's like all serious.
Runner is pretty good too.
Blade Runner. Oh, I love that movie. And I gotta say, Harrison Ford in just about every interview I've seen him in the last 15 years, he sounds pretty grumpy, but then you just sort of get used to it. It's like I think and he has these really smart ass answers to somebody saying, like trying to do an impression of him. For example, Mark Hamill can do a great impression of Harrison Ford. Kid, if they're looking at your hair, I think we've got a real problem.
That's a pretty good impression, actually.
Like, and then he looks, and he's like, I guess that's me. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely you, dude. Come on. Yeah, and I think that's what happened with Batman. They're like, we'll do another one, sure. Yeah, let's relaunch it again. Let's just relaunch it 3 times in
Stick to
20
it.
years. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Let's just keep going. Yeah, they should have. That should have been a cutscene out of the last of the Christopher Nolan movies. Be like, you think repeating yourself is advantageous? Well, I'm here to tell you otherwise. I'm Bane. You're no match for this Batman. You never have were.
Okay, what is the wildest science myth or pop culture moment you wish more people knew was false?
That wearing hats will make you lose your hair faster.
Oh, that's a thing?
I mean, that's bullshit, but it's a myth. It's a myth, yeah, for sure.
What's the reasoning behind that? Because I love hats.
Well, no, I mean and that's fine. Your hair is perfectly fine wearing hats. It's not a problem. But there's like a kind of a myth. I learned about this one because I worked in the hair transplant industry, but it was one that was
Oh,
it was great to get crushed. It's great to hear that it was crushed because I like hats too. And a couple of doctors actually, they're all in the same room at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, this myth about hats will make you lose your hair faster for men, especially. I'm in a room with men that are getting hair transplants, right? So,
mm-hmm.
so that people they walk in and like, so doc, is it true that if I wear hats all the time, I'm going to lose my hair faster? No, unless you're like actually like wearing it so tight that it cuts off the blood supply to your hair. you're fine.
You know what's funny is a lot of people who have experienced hair loss wear hats. So it's almost like this causation versus correlation.
I never thought about it like that's true. That's true. More. That's right. Yeah, I've recently. Oh, I don't have it. Oh, wait, here it is. Yeah. So I actually had to look it up. I'm like, are okay. So before I show it to you, in style or out of style, visor hats.
I would say out of style.
Oh,
But a lot of the moms at the barn wear them because then they could like keep their, like hair all like their
right.
face protected, but their hair free.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, you typically see a lot of like tennis players, female tennis players will be playing, wearing a visor hat and stuff like that. And there's like a couple of people, men that I would
You
see
gotta
wear
show it to me though. You gotta show it to me.
what the visor hat.
Yeah. Oh, MIT.
That's right.
It works well with headphones, actually. There you
It
go.
does work well with headphones, right? And it works well if you have hair. So
Mm-hmm. Yep. To be fair, though, in style, out of style, when out of style. Like, people just make their own style nowadays.
yeah, I mean, for me, like the visor hat, they're hard to find, but for
Yeah, I
me,
don't see them. Because the
like
trucker hats came, and those are they're see-through. So I feel like the visor hats went away once the trucker hats came. I'm looking for my hat.
well, and the reason for it is it's like my head tends to get hot, sweaty. So like if you're, especially in the hotter months, and for me, that's the argument for the visor hat.
Mm-mm. Okay.
Anyway,
What would I wrote lab coat because I would have to wear a lab coat, but what would your coat have stitched on the inside? Like a secret motto or a message to yourself?
take risks.
I'm trying to think of what would mine be.
It's on the inside so that nobody ever reads it except for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Personal.
Yeah. So would you change your answer?
I don't think so. It's the first thing that comes to mind.
So this one person that I follow said that if you love something, give your all and do it well.
Hmm.
Otherwise, don't do it.
Don't do
You
it.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like little inspiration bits like that, I tend to keep shorter. It's like the thing that you would have maybe on the wall above your desk, right? Yeah, that reminds me. I need to start hanging some of these framed items that I have that I've not hung, even though I got that fancy iPhone connected stud finder, purple,
I hung
whatever it
all
is.
my curtains in the time that you've been thinking about hanging something. You just gotta let me do
That's
it for
true.
you.
That's true. You've done a lot in my pondering. There you go. Lab coat. Take risks.
There you go. The
Right?
one for
See?
the helical brew should say, "My helix don't spiral; it ascends."
Mm. It's like a screw to the sky. Yeah.
I have a lot of ones that I think of when like I just am thinking during the day. And it's funny because now that we're on this side of the business, I'm like, I can actually make buttons, right? Like it would be fun to like put some of these thoughts that I have into like actual buttons people would be interested in taking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You could bring a whole new light to the sales profession. This is your opportunity. This is like it's a fresh start. You're you've you're on the dark side of the force. Luke, come to the dark side. You think darkness is your ally?
I loved Bane was so awesome.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
he's the
such a
best.
good movie.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it.
I feel
Yeah.
like that actor, every movie he's in, he doesn't really he's always becoming a character. You never see who he is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like Venom, he was probably the most like himself as when he was not Venom, of course.
It's Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, yeah.
Tom Hardy, yeah.
Yeah, he actually it was he kind of helped come up with the Bane package because he needed a combination of the mouthpiece plus the some vocal stuff and that's where, a good actor that you have a comfortable relationship with can sort of have the freedom to do what they want instead of like Christopher Nolan going, no, it must be like this. Somebody I would like to meet and spend like hang out with for like an hour would be Hans Zimmer.
Ooh.
He did all those. all those scores for the
Mm-hmm.
films.
Yeah.
And the way he talks about, oh yeah, we didn't put the French horns on the ground floor. We put them way up here. Like there's one set over here, one set over there. And that's why you hear this kind of distant sound, yet it's powerful with the French horns and the. That's like throughout the Batman Dark Knight theme.
You're making me want to go ahead and marathon the Batman series again.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You get this. You can share play movie
Yes.
watching night. So we could do
Yep.
it. We could. If you got an Apple TV,
Yes.
yeah. So we can share play an Apple TV. You can sit there and like, it's sort of like what was Mystery Science Theater. It's sort of like you can kind of do
I
an
still
airport
want to do an episode where we're Mystery Science Theater for sure.
middle school era and high school era, and it can be different shows. But what did you like? Oh, I'm home from school, homework's done. I'm watching something on TV. What did you watch in like middle school?
Gosh, I don't remember because we were like four kids, so it was always like
Fight for the TV.
clowning over each other. So,
Okay.
so I know in high school I spent most of my time doing sports. So by the time I got home, I ate, did homework, and passed out. Middle
Okay.
school, I don't remember. I know I'm kind of a crappy person to ask this. What did you watch? Maybe you can ring a bell for me.
It was so like I used to like Nickelodeon's Nick at Night.
Oh, yes, I did love Nick at Night.
I mean, I don't know how it's crazy to get into like as a you figure, oh, you'd be into the more modern shows. Like I
Hmm.
wasn't into 90210. That's a lot of my friends were into that, 90210. And everybody because it's like okay, go on a date, you could watch, that would be a show that would be consistent. But no, I would just watch like the Donna Reed show, Dennis the Menace, Mr. Ed, all these shows, especially like middle school era. During my time, you could not escape the O.J. Simpson trial.
Oh,
That would be on like right after school because that was West Coast, right? That was all in L.A. and I was in the Central Time Zone, and that would be on all the time, so you couldn't miss
I get
it.
the feeling that we were maybe in middle school and high school at the different times because middle school me was watching like Bill Nye the Science Guy and Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah, well, I definitely got into Star Trek: The Next Generation in college.
Yeah, you're way younger than me then.
uh, yeah, so we're not
I also
we're
watched like
not that
Yo
far off.
MTV
So,
Rap.
oh God, we don't have that much of a gap. It's
In
slightly
high school, Ghost in the Shell. I liked that.
okay.
But TV wise, it was like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I watched that.
Yeah, it was my college days, I guess. Yeah, French Prince.
Mhm. Ooh, The Fifth Element came out
Oh
when
yeah,
I was in high
that was
school. That was epic.
97.
Well, I guess no, that was college. That was college, yeah. 97. Pulp Fiction also came out in 97. Do you remember Martin? I used to watch that.
Martin
Martin in Living
in Living
Color.
Color. Yep. What was that actress? Mila Jovovich. Yeah.
She's
Chris
in the 70s
Tucker,
show, right?
Gary. No, that was she played Lilu in Fifth Element. You're thinking of Mila Kunis,
Yes, yes,
who's
yes,
actually
yes.
Ukrainian.
Yeah, wow, really? Hmm.
She actually speaks Russian.
How
She
interesting.
blew away. She blew away a TV host one time. She just goes straight into Russian. She's like, "No, I was born there."
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, well, learn something every day." Yeah, Ashton Kutcher. Oh my gosh, that '70s show.
I love
There are
that 70s
so
show.
many moments of that '70s show. I mean, these were people like Mila Kunis was like underage when she got cast. Technically, you're not supposed to cast somebody, but she lied about her age, so she got on anyway. Hey, that's. I'm sure there's many stories like that in Hollywood. People trying to get started, they're hungry, they don't have any money. They're like, I came to Hollywood, I want to go make a career. Friends, that's another one. That yeah, couldn't avoid Friends, whether you were a back-to-back episode fan or just an occasional fan. That one definitely made a difference.
I
Yeah.
think the last one I had was you're sipping the Helical Brew. What's in your cup and what future are you toasting to?
Is this before work or after?
Could be whatever you want, Mike.
I'm going to go with a double espresso. And it's going to have to be Italian in nature, brewed out of an Italian manufactured espresso machine.
I'm gonna go with a Belgian beer.
Belgian? Well, I think that's something like Elizabeth and I were talking about this. So everyone here, everyone of us likes Belgians. We can. That's 100% agreement. We we
Nice.
we know that. Elizabeth's a big fan. I'm a big fan. You're a big fan.
Big fan.
That's one of
Mostly
those
because the
where,
alcohol content is high, so I don't have to drink more than one cup.
well,
And it's tasty.
hold on, hold on a minute. It is tasty. Well, and why is it tasty? Okay, so what separates Belgian beer from other beer for you?
I think my problem is living in San Diego, everyone's really into IPAs. And
Hopheads.
but I'm a super taster.
Hopheads.
So all it tastes like to me is perfume.
Yes,
So
and bitter. It's
basically,
quite bitter too.
and disgust, yeah, I just don't like it. So I just love the robustness of a good Belgian beer, and it just is smooth to me.
Do you like the ones that are on the lighter side or the darker side?
Gosh, I can go either way, depends on the mood.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of did like a tasting when I was in Belgium last time of Belgian beers.
Belgium.
Yeah, I always get those mixed up. Is it Belgium beer and Belgian or Belgium and
Belgique.
Belgian? Yeah.
Beer Belgique.
What about you? What do you like about them?
I like the multi variety that you can have. So you can have a high alcohol beer because typically multi beer that you find in other parts of the world, let's say Germany, the darker multi beers, they're lower on the alcohol content, so they're kind of a robust, back of the tongue flavor, but I don't know, they're kind of flat. It's sort of there's not a lot of color to the taste because you kind of need for me with a multi beer or a darker beer, the higher alcohol helps I think activate a lot of the complex flavor that's in it. So that's why I'm a big Russian Imperial Stout fan.
Mm,
But I also like how in Belgian beer you can dial the knob of malt pretty, it's pretty linear from not very malty to very malty and just sort of work your way. So, have a
yeah.
little start with the lighter ones and end with the darker ones. And maybe it's just because I spent a fair amount of time at the Delirium Brewery in the tap room in Brussels. That was so nice because they've got the whole array of like 6 different Delirium beers right there. Because we only get Nocturne and Tremens, I think.
The
Those are the
Chouf
two.
too.
Le Chouf, yes, that's
hmm Yeah. I just feel
honest.
like it just seems like more complex and like layered. Like I can taste nuances, you know? We
And
should probably have somebody on who likes IPAs so he can refute me, but
I mean, I like IPAs. Okay, so it's not like I'm completely out of it, but I do understand that IPAs are really easy to get sloppy.
yeah.
You can do some, and I think San Diego has gotten to the point where there's so many breweries, like Mike Hess. I went over to the Mike Hess brewer. Mike Hess, that beer is just it's gotten out of like at least the last one I had there. It was sort of like this is hops out of control. But then I go over to a place like, well, New English is another one. Not a huge fan. I mean, it's a great place to hang out and go grab a quickie with somebody, but it's not great beer. For me, Duckfoot or something like that, it's a little bit more curated. And yeah, there's like 2 or 3 IPAs on the menu, but I like it when breweries start going into Mexican lagers. They'll do
hmm
a malty beer, and
hmm
Duckfoot really concentrates on covering, 4 or 5 different varieties of beer. But if it's just one hophead extravaganza, not a fan.
Yeah. And they have an arepas vendor right outside, so I really like going there.
Two reference beers I go to for IPA. If you want to recalibrate and go back to the best, right? Just Blind Pig from Russian River in Santa Rosa and the Lunch from Maine Brewing Company. Usually when I get it, it's at a place that serves oysters. So
Oh, yes, I
go.
love oysters. Oysters are good.
So good.
But you know what? There was, I don't know if it's still around, it was before COVID. There was a place that was like aging their own like sour beers, and it was really good.
Wild Ale. Yes, I
And
love
they
these
said it's
guys.
barrel aged, which was really cool.
They really like Star Wars too, because here's one, the Emperor Pale. Oh, Emperor Palpatine.
What is that supposed to be? What kind of beer?
That was just a straight up 5.8% ABV pale. You enjoy my stout. That's another beer. That's a 14% ABV barrel-aged imperial stout. That's what I'm talking about right there. Expect layers of dark chocolate, roasted espresso, and caramelized toffee, complemented.
Okay. Truth. When they say expect layers of, and you drink this beer, do you actually taste all the layers?
If I didn't read that, I probably wouldn't. Those thoughts
Would you be like
probably would have gone to.
chocolate and cherry?
No, and I think that's why you pay somebody to write stuff like that, because full disclosure, often if you think it, it is reality. Whether it's true or not, it's just like before you taste something, it's almost like you're pre-programming your taste buds. Oh yes, I can. That's right. The layering. Here comes the dark chocolate first, roasted espresso, and finally the caramelization. Would you
And
even be
is
able to
this
come
fig? Do I taste fig? Like, I don't know.
with a kick of spice, oak, and vanilla? I don't think our tongues are capable of processing. This is like requires brain power in your tongue.
Or like a slow sipping, I don't know, with constant like cleansing of your palate.
Have you ever seen the little like bit that this guy? It's I want to say 80s or 90s when he did it, but he's like, this is how you taste Scotch. Pour it into the glass. Whiff, throw it out, pour some more in. Right? He just goes through this whole elaborate like thing about how you taste Scotch properly, and it's absolutely hilarious.
I kind of
Somebody,
like that. I want to watch it because
yeah,
I feel like I do my own little ritual with Scotch. I'm wondering what other people do.
throw it out. Hello, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Come back. Go away. Come. It's
I feel like that kind of conversation probably doesn't happen, but
Well, now after watching that a couple of times, I can't not think about that.
that's
How are
hilarious.
you? I'm fine. Are you doing better now? No. Take more of a whiff in. Put your nose in it. Hold the glass to your nose, just like this, right?
Is it
And it
bad
goes,
that I feel like this guy needs friends?
you know what? When you're that passionate about something, you don't need friends.
Can you imagine that? Do it to your like precise arm. Hello, how are you? How are you feeling? I don't know.
See, notice, free mode. Teach the point. Now, lock it up. Press
Free, all
go.
axes.
Access the program. Everything's working great. Now it's time to go. Now it's time to go home, have a beer, and check on the status of your automation on your mobile device.
You went all British there. Mobile
Mobile.
device. Mobile.
I believe you're speaking of my mobile.
Welcome to my flat.
The flat, right, of course.
But I love the Fifth Element. Coming back to that tangent, that blew my mind. Bruce Willis was amazing. Mila was amazing. It was a lot of fun.
Bruce Willis, I mean, that was, it
Coming
was a
off Die Hard.
surprising, coming out of Die Hard, that was kind of a surprising film, I think at the time. Now you wouldn't think anything, you wouldn't think twice of it, but
But there was
it was,
this like subtle like romance, not romance. He perceived like, almost like he's taking care of her, but then not. Like I like that ambiguity.
yeah. It, it was a good film from a creative standpoint, and the actors. I think the actors carried it. I mean, they had
Mhm.
really good actors in there.
Chris Tucker, he was hilarious.
He was
I
like
should know who you are
on the
after
microphone.
Friday.
I'm like seeing him in subsequent films. I'm like, who is this guy? Oh my god!
Well, he was funny in Friday.
Oh my god! Now that was a movie that changed a lot of youth forever.
Hmm.
That was Ice Cube,
Friday, next Friday, Friday after next.
man, and the father, the guy that played the father
Uh,
in. Oh my god!
there aren't very many movies like that nowadays. Like I feel like when we were growing up, there was a lot more movies. In Living Color just was on TV all the time. The Fridays, there was a couple more that I'm missing, but like I felt like it was more mainstream.
Influence of production companies, producers themselves, and writers, and all those pieces coming together, and facilitating budgeting the
Yeah.
production of shows.
But it was
It's
also hand in
very
hand with
different.
MTV. Like MTV was big and there was a lot of like rap videos and like R&B videos and.
I mean, perfect. MTV succeeded in a lot of ways due to in general, people were willing to work for less money, and you could pull off a wide variety of shows on a network that was, just about music and music videos. But over time, MTV sort of became more and more shows and less, music, right? I mean, there were music related shows, but that sort of was the beginning of the end because it lost its touch. Because you could package those shows on any number of networks these days. In fact, VH1 kind of survived because they pivoted, and MTV. I felt like MTV didn't pivot as much, but that's okay, right? I mean, networks come and go. But I mean, I guess it's just our generation, right? We appreciated that. Remember that little thing that would show up in the corner with the name of the artist, the song, when it was produced, like just that appearance of that little thing in the corner in the lower right. You just said to yourself, "This is a music video." That was awesome. I mean, there were shows back in the day when podcasting first came about, when they first launched the podcast app on Apple. I remember, Tiki Bar TV was one of the OGs that was promoted, and also the Twitch show that I like to watch. That was also an original early podcast, and the Apple guys would actually curate because there weren't that many. They'd be like, "Yeah, we really like you guys." They would comment, so it'd be like the Apple podcast team would comment. They don't do that anymore. Now it's just there's so many of them out there. I wish.
I feel like they could if they wanted. They just don't want to.
They just don't want to.
What other questions do you want to answer? What's wrong with MTV? Find out at 9. No.
I want my MTV.
That reminds me of Towley's voice.
I'm Tally. How I can do a Tally really good. I love Tally.
So my daughter watches TikTok videos, right? Even though I've tried to keep her off, she's on there. And so she'll come back with a saying from South Park. Jesus, like what are they memeing and putting in those TikTok videos?
Kids, want to go have some lunch? Yeah, Tally was.
South Park and Beavis and Butthead. Those were other things we watched when we were younger.
Oh yes, Beavis and Butthead. Why? I can't believe I left that one out.
That's a big one. I honestly could not watch that show. Like I had some friends who loved it, and I just couldn't get over. They're just so annoying.
She said annoying. That was great. And that was Mike Judge, he would do all that. I mean, South Park and the production requirements for original South Park and original Beavis and Butthead were very low budget, didn't require a lot of time to produce an episode. And I think the South Park guys would come up with an episode sometimes just while sitting around a table and be like, all right, let's do it. And then they,
kind of like us in this podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the creative genius of people that were influenced by South Park and things like Beavis and Butthead. There's a level of detail and mastery unseen by the rest of the world. Yeah,
oh my God. You just have to add tremendous.
Tremendous. Yes, tremendous. We're the best podcast, okay? No. Yeah, Tally. That's a classic. Mr. Hanky.
Oh, Mr. Hanky.
Ah, Mr. Hanky. I think it was the same, whoever did the voice, is the same spirit, I think.
It's got to, yeah. I wonder if it's even the same voice, probably.
Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo.
Like that, where did they come up with that?
So, yeah, I don't know. Well, thank you for joining us on the Helical Brew. This is episode intermission. We're not sure what to call it. But if you have an idea, let us know in the comments section below. Email us at helicalbrew@gmail.com. And if you are that first emailer, you could be eligible to possibly, maybe, sort of, kind of, we're not 100% sure, but maybe you'll get a hat. Thank you for joining us on the Helical Brew. We're glad to have you with us. For more episodes, please visit our website at helicalbrew.com. That's helicalbrew.com.